Hello, robotics and engineering students. Here is another short video of Fusion 360 assignment for this week. This week we'll be attempting to create a canoe. As you know, last year the freshmen created a canoe for the Medford canoe races. Most of that canoe was built in Fusion first, and then we fabricated the canoe in the shop. Just as a reminder, here is the blog post on our website about the cardboard canoe race. And you can see, as we scroll down, some of the Fusion 360 designs that we made for it. Now, besides the fact that the canoe actually was too good at floating, which made it a bit tipsy, it was a really interesting design with the ribbed structure. For the canoe I want to create today, or begin to create today, we'll begin it this week and it'll go into next week, is to show you some new techniques in Fusion that use the surface tools. This will allow us to get a nice curvy form to the canoe. And so we're going to start off by building sort of the exterior shape of the canoe today. Just on another note, I wanted to show you, since I've been at home and someone had mentioned 3D printing, I think it was Linus, last week, I want to show you how I actually monitor my 3D prints. I don't know if you can hear it right now, but my 3D printer is actually going, and it's just off to my left here, printing away. But I'm not always down here in my basement workshop watching it. Sometimes I'm upstairs in the living room watching TV or doing whatever. And so I use this app here called AstroPrint. It's free. You sign up and you basically use a Raspberry Pi as a server that you connect to your 3D printer, and you can actually connect a very simple, cheap webcam to that and watch live video of your 3D printer from anywhere in the world. I happen to mostly use it when I'm still in my house, but I can set prints if I went to school one day and wanted to make sure it was printing correctly throughout the day. I could go ahead and check it. I've got the heat of the extruder and the heat of the surface of the bed. I've got my progress, and then I've got my video. And then I can also do a lot of other things. If I come here, in terms of setting the printer profile, slicer settings, I have a whole design library full of things that I can 3D print from there, as well as the monitor where I can see what I'm printing and watch the video of it as it's printing. It's called AstroPrint. It's actually free to use. You can buy a custom Raspberry Pi box from them that's got all of the code on it already, or you can do it yourself, which is, if you're an engineering student, pretty easy, and that's what I did. And I just have it running off of my 3D printer so that I can see what I'm doing. Pretty cool. If anybody is interested, happy to talk to you more about that. Okay, moving on to Fusion. Here we are. So we're going to begin to build our canoe. I'm thinking of the canoe in three sort of profiles. If we can kind of cut a canoe in half, there's the width of it, and that changes from sort of the center portion of the canoe to the tip of the canoe, and it will do that in the same towards the back. The profile from the middle, let's say, of the canoe to the tip, if we cut it in half long ways, that also changes throughout the canoe. And then the canoe also curves around its side. So there's three profiles that we actually need to draw first to get the general shape of the canoe. Hopefully it'll make a little more sense as we begin. So we're actually only going to create 1/4 of the canoe to begin with, and then we will copy that 4 times or 3 times to make the entirety of the canoe. Let's get started with a sketch, and let's choose this plane here, and let's draw some construction lines first to start us off. I want to come out about 9 inches, and I'm going to go up, we'll say 12. I'm going to select these, make them construction lines. I'm going to use the spline tool. You guys have used the spline tool, I believe, before. We're going to start at the origin point here. Then I'm just going to kind of click somewhere in this area. Doesn't matter exactly where, we can always move it, but I don't want it to be attached to any of these lines or coincident with any of these lines. I kind of want it to be a little free-flowing. And then I'm going to come and be coincident here with the top. Click there, and then we can just click our check mark. So a few things, you can see the green tangent bars here. I want to select this one, and I want to get it as straight as I can. I don't want it to be dipping below this construction line. So there we go. Now I know it's on that construction line. That looks good to me. And then we're going to kind of do the same thing here. And you can just click on this line again to get your tangent bars back. You can see that the X showing that it is on the construction line. And once it's on the construction line, it cannot be to the left of the construction line, the actual spline. So that's what we want. And now you can move this around to sort of get the sort of shape you want. Doesn't really matter too much. Make your own design. See, get a kind of shape that you're happy with. This looks fine for me, so that's what I'm going to use. Okay. Now we could lock this in place if we wanted to, but I'm just going to leave this as it is for now. So now we've got one of our curved profiles for the shape of the canoe. All right, so the next one is going to be kind of the long section. This will go kind of from the midpoint of this canoe to the tip of the canoe. We'll begin with another sketch. Here we're going to start with this plane that is perpendicular to the plane we just used. And I'm going to, again, start with some construction lines. We'll make this one 48 inches. And again, if you want to change these dimensions around a little bit, you're totally free to do that. These aren't set in stone or anything. They're just ones I'm playing around with. Go ahead and select these lines. You'll notice here, this happens to me sometimes, it's added a little tiny line there, and I don't know why it's doing that. Be careful on yours. I'm just going to go back a bit here and get rid of that. Very strange. And we'll come up and try that again. All right, that looks better. And now we'll turn these into construction lines. There we go. And we'll do the same thing. We're going to create a spline. And this is going to kind of be the tip nose of the canoe here. So I'm just going to bring a line, kind of the same type of thing, up into a space here. And then we'll come back up and we'll touch that and click there. We're good. I'm going to straighten this line out. Well, maybe we can come down to that midpoint. We need to do the same over here. And now you can see we're dropping below this construction line. I do not want that, so I'm just going to start to lift this up. And then I can move it down the line to get a little more flatter, or I can move up to get a bit more curve and upwards motion with that line. I'm just going to kind of keep coming down, kind of like this. Something like that looks good to me, so we'll keep it here, and we'll finish that sketch. Okay, so now you can see we've got these two profile sketches done. There's one more to do. That one is going to connect this dot, or this point here, to this point here. So in order to do that, we need to create an offset plane at the same level as these points. These points we drew up 12 inches, so this construction line is 12 inches, this construction line is 12 inches, so a plane at 12 inches up will be perfect to connect those. So go up to Construct, Offset Plane, choose this bottom plane here, and we can type in 12 and hit Enter. And a new sketch on that plane. I like to just start this one at an angle so I can see the points I want to work with. We'll type in S for the shortcut key here, and I'm just going to do Project. I want to project those points into the plane that I'm working on. So I'm going to click on this one and this one, and just hit OK. Now I'll get my spline tool, we'll select this point and click somewhere over here, and we'll select that point and finish it up. Now I like to work from the top so I can see what this is going to look like. Kind of doing the same thing here. I want to straighten out that one. Let's straighten out this one. I like to make this one a little smaller, so bringing those tangent lines closer together. And then we'll pull this third point in to get a nice kind of form for the exterior of the canoe. That looks good to me, so that looks good to you. Something similar to that. Give that a shot and we'll finish the sketch out. We've got these 3 profiles, okay? And what we're gonna do is make a surface. A surface is kind of like a 2-dimensional sheathing that's gonna connect these 3 profiles. It really is 2-dimensional, so we couldn't even print it if we wanted to. It's got no depth, but we will give it some depth once we have actually created it, okay? So in order to do surface, or create surfaces, we actually need to change from the solid menu, which is where we normally work, into the surface menu here. So click on surface, you'll see the tools change into sort of an orangey, maybe peach type color, I don't know, doesn't matter, to let us know that we're now in the surface function of the program. I'm gonna go down to create, and this is actually a lofting operation. So I'm gonna click on loft. The first profile I'm actually gonna connect this one and this one as my as my profile 1 and profile 2. This profile is gonna act as what's called a rail. That's gonna keep it bowed out for us. So we'll select this profile, hit the plus sign, and this one. And what you'll see here is it's kind of a straight connection. We want it to flow along this sort of profile line here. And that's the rail. So now I will click here and select my rail. And it's conforming now to that rail on this end as it goes around. Pretty cool. So that's this 2D surface that we now have. And we can what's called thicken that to give it depth to turn it into an actual body. So within this part here, within the surface tools, we can actually go over to thicken, which is in the create menu. Here it is. And I'll just click on the face that we want to thicken. So I'm going to select 0.25, and that's going to thicken this part 1/4 of an inch, which is kind of the size of a thick cardboard that we might use for making this. Now again, I didn't make the canoe this way for the project because it's really hard to bend the cardboard to fit something like this. But in a perfect world, we might have the ability to do that, so that's why we're making it this way here for the video and to learn how to use these new tools. So I'm going to click OK, and there it is. Right, so this is an actual body now. You should see a body here. The surface will show up in the body, but it's not a real thing. You can see it turning brown there as I turn it on. And so here is our actual piece. So the next thing we can do is create mirrors of this. So we'll go to the mirror tool, bodies, select this object, and our mirror plane. We'll start here. Click OK. And there we go. Now, we'll actually probably combine these in the end, but just for now, so you can see what it's going to look like. And then we can do another mirror. We can mirror both of these this time, I believe. Bodies, select objects, and the mirror plane will be this one here. There you go. And there we go. We've got ourselves the beginnings of a really nice looking canoe. So, give this a shot, see what you can come up with, and I'd love to see the different versions of canoes you can create using the Surface tool. Good luck. Bye.